While we're waiting for everybody, we're going to pull up the chat, and it would be wonderful if you put your name, your organization, and if your city is different, doesn't have, if your city does not is not in your name, if you put that in, that would be great, so we know where everybody is. And lastly, what is your burning question? Because that is the topic for today. So give us a shout out as to what you want to talk about, and then we'll just go from there, because today is just getting to know each other better and answering the questions that you have, and seeing what everybody's doing. So I'll give a few minutes for everybody to do that.
I'm glad we're doing this, Virginia, because it's been nice for the last couple of comms clubs where we've had a speaker and it's been a little bit more structured and we've had some great conversation and great information, but we wanted to try this time to see, you know, if we wanted to talk a little more casually, like you said, get to know one another a little better, but really see what our burning questions are on any given day, in any given week, and in any given month. They might change, right? But what are they today, and what might we be able to talk about?
Great. And does anyone have a burning question they want to start off with while we're all setting up and getting ready? We can chew on that a few minutes as everybody's putting in their information.
I have one.
Great.
I'm looking for ideas and suggestions of retaining members. What do you do to make sure your members know they're appreciated, are involved, connected with your giving circle?
Great question. Thoughts?
Do you have a newsletter?
Sally, do you have a newsletter?
Second. Yes, there is a newsletter.
Sally, are you asking because you've seen a drop in your retention recently, or is it kind of an ongoing, question that probably we all have?
No, we've been very fortunate. Our membership numbers as of yesterday were as high as they were before COVID. So we are very pleased that we were able to attract new members. We are in our 22nd year. And I have a bold goal of 500 members by next year. And I want to know, it's a lot easier to keep a member than to recruit new ones. So how might we not only recruit, but retain?
So do you want information about retaining the ones that you currently have, keeping them engaged?
Yes.
I can let you know at Greenville Women Giving, we actually, this year is the first year that we split our membership committee into two committees. We have over 500 members because we saw the need for attention to both engagement and recruitment, and they do overlap in some senses, but both need kind of unique focuses. And our engagement committee has done a great job this year. Aside from the monthly co-chair letters that go out, we also have anniversary parties for the years that people have joined, and sometimes they're together, like 2013, 2015, we do them together. We also do silly things, maybe like send out a Valentine's card to all of our members, which they really love. And we also do something called Strictly Social, which is not paid for by the contributions made by the members, but it is an additional activities, kind of pay as you go. And we have, for instance, this year we did a hike in Conisty Park, and we had about 30 members come for that. We have had, there's a music museum in downtown Greenville, and we had a special evening just for Greenville Women Giving members. So it's a way that our members can be engaged beyond our education sessions and our granting.
Thank you, Susan. Great ideas.
We've gotten great response from them. Just to let you know, the people who have participated really, really enjoy getting together at additional times during the year other than our big events.
Can I reach out to you, Susan, and continue the conversation?
Certainly, I'd love to. And we also have found that we do different times. So some things are in the morning. Sometimes we do things on a Saturday. Sometimes we do things at 5:30. That's another way. We have a very diverse population of women. Some work, some are retired, some stay at home with children. So we do different times for our events as well, for our engagement type events. But
Thank you.
sure, reach out to me.
I have a
Happy to-
question from Indianapolis, if that's okay for a new question.
Sure.
Okay, hi, I'm Julianne. I'm the president of Impact 100 at Greater Indianapolis. And I have a question, since it's communications, also regarding the use of PR firms. So this year, we do not have a public relations firm. We have a really good marketing committee, which is the first time in several years where we have younger people and a combination of talent and skills. So I was just wondering if anybody would share if it's worth it to have the PR firm. We had one for several years, and then we really weren't getting any traction with press releases and interviews. So we would like to definitely expand our, I don't know what you'd call our impact on the community visually. Thanks.
Have others used a PR firm before?
Yes.
We have a,
Austin has.
yeah, we have a PR firm.
Impact Austin started using a PR firm when our coverage was flagging, the coverage that we'd been able to generate on our own.
Mhm.
I think part of that has to do with the changing situation with news outlets. As they become smaller staffed, they're not covering as much local, or at least here, that's not happening as much. We stopped using a PR firm a couple of years ago for budget reasons, but we have a volunteer who is a PR professional. So she handles our news releases for grants, and that's all that we put out. She gets as much coverage as the PR firm was. But the PR firm also assisted us with some Facebook Live video that assistance we may not need anymore, but that was a value add they offered.
Julianne, we have never used a PR firm before, but we have kind of, Judy, to your point, because of the changing nature of news organizations and so few people being contacts anymore and very few press releases even being picked up, we've kind of had the philosophy that we put a lot of energy into our social media channels and we kind of make our own news. Whether it's a press release or, kind of a blog post or whatever it might be, kind of feeling like that is our best bang for the buck in terms of reaching our current members, prospective members, people in the community, that sort of thing. I'm not saying not to use them, but just for us, that was the way we've looked at it.
We, in Greenville Women Giving, we have utilized a PR person for the same person for the last 3 years. And it's an interesting way to go about it. She is one of our partners listed as on our sponsorship. And so hers is an in-kind. So she works for us without charging us per se. And her PR firm gets the benefit. She's a woman in the city of Greenville who has great relationships with many different publications and has a long history in Greenville. So what it does give us is, for instance, for our Shiro campaign that's coming up, she's gotten a spot for us on Your Carolina, which is a TV spot on the 14th. She gets kind of to publications that we don't normally get to, but the relationship, to develop a relationship where it's in kind and they're a sponsor, if you don't need a full-time person, is kind of an interesting way to look at it. Because it does give us some connections that we don't already have in the community, in the local paper. I think it really has to be a good fit though, right? So you need to get somebody that's going to work with a nonprofit. She works with nonprofits. So you have to get someone that's a good fit. Otherwise, you're just going to be spending money on something that might not benefit your organization well.
Hey, Susan, this is Alice Burlington in Roanoke, Virginia. I have a follow-up to that, if you don't mind. Have you thought about having this PR person become a member, and instead of paying their dues, they would offer this service? We're just kicking around options here, and we're just trying to figure out how to get the work done, but we don't really have a budget to pay anybody for it.
Right, so she always has an option to join. She has an expressed interest in doing that, so that's her choice. I'm not really sure why. I feel like the benefit that we get from using her firm for the amount of work that she does for us as a partner, where we're not outlaying any money, it's in kind, is probably 10 times what she would pay in dues. So her hourly rate is pretty high. And so she does all of our press releases. And I mean, and for her, the benefit is that she's in front of 500 women, pretty influential in the community, that are aware now of her firm. And then also her firm, her company is on our banners and our printed material and that. So there's a benefit both ways. So, and I just really feel like the value of what she gives us is much more than the dues. Or not dues, I'm sorry, contribution.
Thank you.
Judy, you had a question about, or maybe not so much a burning question, but interested to hear from others, you know, what are you doing really well with your social media? And our team was thinking when we were talking about hosting this today, you know, would it be fun and interesting to have everyone just kind of give a quick answer, like what's the best thing you've done this last month with social media? So if you're all game, we could go around and everyone just say one thing. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. What's the best thing that happened with your social media this month? Judy, maybe you start.
Yeah, in the last month, hard to say, but my co-chair is on the webinar and she's very good at creating Canva graphics that we use for events, for some of the efforts we're doing. Right now, we have a Recruit a Friend initiative going on to try to double our membership. And so she's created some great graphics and we have a cadence for our social media on that. So that's one thing we do well. Secondly, in a bigger picture, is we are trying to create a cadence for the kinds of communications that we do on certain days of the week. And we do post 7 days a week on 4 channels, 6 days a week. So we are looking for themes for those days. And I think that has worked well for us.
Great. Who else wants to share what you've done recently?
Hi,
About how many are on social media? Is everybody at least doing one platform?
Yes.
And
My name,
how often?
Michelle, sounds like you were going to say something.
oh, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Michelle O'Hyan. Sorry, I have a bad cough right now. I'm the Director of Operations at the SAM Initiative in Los Angeles. Recently, what we've been doing is resharing a lot of our past recipients, upcoming events or volunteer opportunities, galas, now that everyone's starting to do things in person. And we get a lot of good response, not only from the members that want to be engaged with, you know, past recipients that they haven't heard from in years, but also from the organizations themselves that love to see that we're thinking of them and that we're broadcasting their upcoming events.
That's a great idea. And there's stuff to be talking about, right? Like you said, since things are happening again. Great.
We do something similar. We do right now we do Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And 2 of the things that we get great response from are we spotlight a grantee every now and then, and we'll do spotlight on the arts or spotlight on the environment, one of our 5 categories, granting categories, and we'll pick one of our past grants. We'll post a picture and then probably 3 sentences, a quote from the executive director or grant coordinator about the grant. And we find that we get a lot of community response, not just Greenville Women Giving members response, we community response. And the same with our Shiro campaign that's going on right now. Once someone submits a woman that's their Shiro, they can share their Shiro. They can send us a picture and a couple of sentences about why that woman is their Shiro, and we push that out on social media, and we get a great response again from the community, because we're looking for a community engagement, not just membership engagement. So that will give us support for not only new members but also maybe sponsors, but just to have a general community awareness about what's going on in our organization.
The Shiro campaigns, we did one too, and I know others have as well. I feel like those are such a great way to profile existing members, maybe bring some new members to the table. And we found that it was a great marketing opportunity as well. People love to see what their friends or family or other members of the circle are doing.
Yeah, and we opened up to the community too. So it's gone out in the Greenville Journal, Town Magazine. It's on all of our social media and our website. Anybody can share their Shiro. So we actually have some men sharing their daughters, their wives. We have non-members sharing their Shiros. So it's kind of a great way to just showcase extraordinary women in the community that some people don't even know about. So teachers, doctors, mothers, whatever it is. So it's a fun thing, and it's really interesting to see when people share their Shiros. They write sometimes a very poignant 1 or 2 sentence description. One almost made me cry the other day. So it was obviously a mother that was recovering from cancer, but it was a very poignant post by one of our members. So it is really a cool thing to see.
I agree. I'll just add to that. We had a hashtag with ours. I don't know if you do too, Susan, but we could query where people were sharing, even if we hadn't been tagged in it, and we could see. But the other thing is people had to sign up to do a Shiro with their email address. And so a lot of them were our members or people on our email list, but there were so many new names and email addresses that we were able to take and we put on our newsletter. And a few dropped off because they weren't planning on necessarily hearing from us.
Right.
Very few have. So it's a whole, speaking, Sally, maybe to your question, not as much as current member retention, but, an opportunity to bring in new members when you do some sort of campaign highlighting women in the community. Any other great things or anyone's doing with social media? I guess I'll just quickly add to that point about highlighting people. It's our 20th anniversary year this year. And one of the things we're doing is something called 20 Years, 20 Stories. And at our virtual annual celebration in March, we launched it, and we're doing 2 stories a month through December. And it's kind of a chronology of what we've done the last 20 years. And we're centering it on a woman and then building the story of the work that we're doing behind her. And I've just been really surprised. We've only done 3 so far since we launched it, but they're getting a lot of attention, which is nice to see.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. So we have a couple of other questions in here. What is a great way to have more women in business following your work or joining your circle? Julianne, is that what you were referring to? Okay. Does anyone have any ideas?
Thank you. Yes, just more followers in general. I mean, I'm following a lot of other nonprofits. It seems like we're pretty heavy on the nonprofit side, but again, we want the whole community involved. And so we were trying to follow people back, but then I'm wondering about all the personal stories. Then you get all these personal Instagrams that people are sharing. And so I'm not quite sure what's the best way to follow people and get more followers. We have a committee though, they're working on it, but this is for my own use too. Thanks.
Chloe, do you have some thoughts on following and followers?
Let me just say for those who don't know that Chloe is working with us at Philanos. She's our social media guru. Yeah, but there's a technical problem. We're hearing a static. I think it's off to you, Chloe.
Because
There you go.
sometimes
There we go.
I think it's broken. Anyway, So if you want to have more women in business and more followers, I think for the women in business, you have to look at the platform where women in business are participating. So most of the time, it depends what kind of business. But I think LinkedIn and Instagram are very popular these days to try to find those women that you want to relate to. And then how to gather more followers. I think one thing that works, or there's several things. You can start following the people that inspire you. You can always reach out as well. You can ask to collaborate, and maybe there's more incentive to be followed back. But you can also do a call out, just make a post that you want people to engage a little bit more with you, or there's something specific that you want to create. So always making a post that is more open for everyone to get to know you a little better, and you're inviting them to keep up with you, keep up with your news, keep up about your events. This might be an incentive to make them follow you as well.
Chloe, can you give an example of a call out, what you might say?
So it depends. If it's for personal use, you might have something specific that you want to share with a group and that you want to engage more with. So that will depend for each person. And if it's for your organization, I think it's best, or the way that we've been doing it at Philanos is to, first of all, give more space or do more posts about the people that about our affiliates or the events that we have. So people have to keep track of what's happening with Philanos, of what's happening with the different giving circles. So when you are keeping up this rhythm, people want to keep on reading the news or the events. So these are different, or you have to do several call outs for that when you're an organization. But if it's for a personal use, you can do just that once in a while, just not to overwhelm the followers that you already have. So let's just try to keep a balance between how you present that in the personal or the organizational level.
What Chloe, you're so good at too for Philanos is when you're doing call outs or shout outs, not only are you tagging the organization, but tagging others, which I think really brings more and more people to both see the post, to the network, and maybe to engage. And you ask a lot of questions, which I think is good too. People like to engage with questions in whatever form they might take, but you could make them fun ones or ones about your organization or philanthropy or whatever it might be to try to engage others.
And start with your board. You know, that was one of our first things a year ago was educating the board and encouraging them to follow Philanos and comment and share between their giving circle and Philanos. And so start with your board and get them to follow and engage, and then their friends and their friends. So
it's so true, because we always say our boards are our very best ambassadors, right? Both in person, based on the work that they're doing, and certainly on social media. So the more we can engage our boards, the better. And actually, Chloe has had us, hopefully you've all seen and you're enjoying it, but Chloe has had us at Philanos doing more and more quick video clips, and we've engaged our board to be doing that. Have you all seen those? Philanos? Yes, no? What do you think about them? Are they engaging you? Yeah. See some nodding heads.
yeah.
You don't have to nod either. if not.
Statistics like video, but not everybody likes doing video.
Are the videos posted on the website so that we could go back and see them and promote them to our groups?
Yes.
They're on the social platforms.
Yeah.
On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
But you can
so they're not on the website, but they're still available through our social media channels. And Chloe, you've seen a big bump for Philanos in the last couple of months since we've started doing a more kind of strategic and concerted effort to do this.
Yes, I think that's a very interesting point, because I think that social media is changing on how we consume information or how we are attracted to information. So at first it was more graphics. Some people is more attracted to text or reading, but I think video, it's very appealing because you can see a friendly face or someone that you already know. And you can also have a specific language that people is really drawn to listen or to know more. And we've seen that the videos are really, yes, appealing because they see someone they know and they want to know what they're saying. They want to engage a little bit more. I think it's more of a friendly face because social media, sometimes we have so many graphics, so many information, and it's hard to find something that we relate to instantly. But when we see someone that we already know or that we've heard of, then it's more inspiring. It's also, it creates a certain bond or trust that can be accelerated with video with someone that you know. And it might take more time if you only do graphics, for example, or if you only do text or captions. So yeah, videos have been really a turnaround. It has really helped. So I really encourage everyone to just not be shy. The video is going to be, it might be a success. It might be just a little bit more low key, but at least you were out there and everyone's doing videos. So there's no shame in that. There's not to be shy. I am a shy person, but I try to do them once in a while. So yeah, I encourage you to.
And
Well, and
Chloe,
you've,
oh, sorry, Nance. I was just
Go
gonna say, when
ahead.
you say video, it's not like a whole studio setup or anything. It's literally taking your cell phone and
use your phone.
doing a selfie or, you know, putting it down and saying a couple of things. And Chloe, you would say probably what, maybe 15 to 30 seconds max, and give a starting sentence, 1 or 2 or 3 bullet points to prove what you're trying to say, and then an ending, right? A call to action.
Yeah, I think the maximum that you should contemplate for a video for social media will be 1 minute. Also because that's your time limit.
Yeah.
And also that's because when people is scrolling, you have to be catchy right away. So if you start your video after the 15 seconds, you probably already lost a majority of audiences. But if you start like, hey, hi, I'm from Mexico, and you have to do a little bit of a catchy thing, and then you can communicate the point that you wanna or just say or present. So you just be casual, and it's best to do several videos that are short with the information that you want to say, rather than a very long video with all the information, because people might not have the time, then people don't know how to go back on the video, and then this kind of situation make you lose some of the audiences that you want to engage.
Well, and you could start with a voiceover.
Yeah, that's the point. So if you're really, really shy, you can still have like a very fun graphic and just do a voiceover. So those have also been very successful because people can at least listen to someone they know, or it's more just a friendly voice. And yeah, voiceovers they're not as catchy as videos, but they're still more catchy than graphics, definitely. Yeah.
Good place to start.
It is. And one thing we just did for our 20th anniversary is we used a software called Tribute. It's very, very inexpensive if you haven't heard of it before, but we invited all of our advisory board members, past chairs and advisory board members, and members of the community to do a very quick video clip. You could either do it on your own phone, or the software allows someone to just do it through the software sitting at your laptop or your phone, and do kind of we asked 2 questions, like, what is the Women's Giving Circle of Howard County? You know, how have you engaged, or, you know, whatever our other question was. And we got over 50 responses. And so you can do 2 things with that. It could be a great way for you to collect it from all of your advisory board, for example. And then you could use it and you can make a quick video clip where everyone's words are tied together into this great thing that we did for our 20th anniversary. But then you also have the separate video clips, and you could use them every week, every 2 weeks, every month, however you'd want to use them separately for social media. But instead of inviting people like, hey, can you send us a video? It might be an easier way for you to engage your board or whoever you'd want to engage, and then a place for you to keep them all and then use them.
I want to speak up for this because I'm one of the people that Chloe's dragging, kicking and screaming into video land as one of the older, more mature board members. And what? But it was really fun. And it's only 15 or 30 seconds. And actually, it's not hard at all. And I think you can engage board members to do this. I did a tribute video for Howard County for Buffy because it was so easy to do. And I think if you're having an anniversary year, it's a fabulous idea because members will do it. Start by getting your board to do it, and then people add into it, and it just turns into something really fun, and it can be used as promotion on your website or anywhere in a presentation.
So I just put what we did in the chat, but also you can see that's where you can find the tribute software. Nina, I can see your question.
So what are some of the other anniversary type celebrations that you guys have done that have been successful and would recommend to others who have anniversaries coming up either this year or next year?
Last year, the Baltimore Women's Giving Circle had to celebrate our 20th year on Zoom. So each month we featured a different committee. And it was, first of all, started off with the co-chairs giving kind of an overview, and also roped in many of our original founders. There were 52 women that founded the Baltimore Women's Giving Circle, and many of them are still around and active, sort of active anyway. And so each month, you know, it was the grants committee, the membership committee, and so on. And that seemed to work pretty well. It would have been a whole lot more fun to do it in person, but COVID didn't allow.
Sally, having attended the first one that you did, it was such a great idea during COVID to do that. I thought it was wonderful listening to the history and then seeing how you were celebrating 20 years.
Thank you, Buffy. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to checking out what you're doing in Howard County this year.
Great. Well, we have a number of events that you're welcome to attend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have another question here asking about kind of what platforms we're using for events and galas and membership dues and fundraising that we love. And I know we're all using probably some similar things, but maybe some different things. You know, what can you offer to your colleagues here that you really like using that's been very helpful? And I would say, again, Tribute was something that we use that we're continuing to use. That was great. I hear the Tribute. It's a very catchy tune.
I have a question about that. Buffy, did you have to pay for that tune?
It's so reasonable. You can have people do their video clips for, I don't know, maybe $75 or something like that. And then I paid a little bit extra for them to take all 50 or so videos and make it into that 4 or 5 minute video tribute clip that I just shared that has been very, very well received. And we're going to use it throughout the entire year, both the individual clips and that 5 minute video. And that was a couple $100. And they were super helpful and responsive and worked fast as well. So I would highly recommend working with them. We also use, I know this might not be exactly what you're asking, but we use DonorBox. Does anyone else use DonorBox to get donations? Well, we use it, and it's a really wonderful platform. Not only we put it on our website, and it makes it so easy on our end to manage it, and on the user end to make donations. But the other thing about DonorBox is that it allows for giving through texting. It allows for crowdsourcing. If somebody, an individual wanted to do it, or if your giving circle wanted to do it. And I think they're easy to work with and reasonable as well. I'll send that over.
How many have a donor button, a donation button on your website? 1, 2, 3. Okay. And how successful has it been for you, how do you do it?
From Impact Austin, Linda and I aren't directly involved in that, so I can't really speak to how successful it is. I know I've used it, but I'm intrigued by DonorBox, so I'm going to take that suggestion away.
This is Linda. Thanks, Judy. I'll chime in that donation button is actually used for like everything. If you want to contribute to our endowment, you go to that page. If you want to become an event sponsor, you go to that page. So regular donations to like a memorial fund we have for an old board member, or past board member is on there. It's kind of a catch-all for anybody giving money to Impact Austin. And so it's promoted in a lot of different ways, and people are sent there for various reasons. It is confusing though, I will admit that. People go to the page and they kind of have to navigate a bit to figure out if they're an event sponsor, where they need to click and what they need to fill out. So.
Sherry has a question about, are people sending newsletters, and if they're electronic or hard copies, and how often? Is there anyone who's not sending a newsletter in whatever form it might take? So we're clearly, one of the ways that we are marketing and communicating to our members and others are through some sort of news source. It sounds like a newsletter. Is there anyone who's still doing a paper newsletter? So everyone's doing electronic.
We do electronic monthly co-chair letter, and then we do an annual report that we send out once a year. That's paper, and a program brochure once a year. That's paper, but our monthly, you'd call it a newsletter, but we call it a co-chair letter. It's from one of the 4 co-chairs, and we rotate, so they get to hear from a different person every time.
Mm-hmm. And are you, just out of curiosity, for those who are sending electronic newsletters, do you look at your open rate? And if you look at your open rate, are there things that you change based on it? Or is it more just kind of like, okay, we know about 30% of our membership took a look?
I have to check.
Okay.
One of our members urged that we be cagier and catchier with our subject lines for our newsletters, and vary how we do it, and to consider what's all over the place on Medium, 5 ways to do this, the top 10 things about that. And so we're trying that. And I put in chat that we've just started doing, for the first time, our most recent newsletter. We had 1 version to members and 1 version to everyone else. We'll see how that goes.
I would love to see what some of your headlines are, because I fall into that trap of being like, the Women's Giving Circle e-newsletter for June. And I think we need to.
All of which can't even go on the line.
What's
Go
fun
ahead.
having it come from the co-chairs is this month was Blast from Beverly, because it's Beverly Ward. Mine is Straight from Susan. And so each one is a different catchy little thing on the top. And then we start it more like Beverly's was talking about spring and different things at the beginning before we jump right into the news. And each co-chair is a little stylistically different in how they present information, even though we all look at it before it goes out. But we try to leave the stylistic unique stylistic things the same so that, so that they don't look the same letter every month.
Mm-hmm. That sounds fun. It sounds like very personal where people get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it is, kind of like getting an email from a friend.
Yeah.
And then, as opposed to having it, our annual report is much more business-like and our program brochure is much more business-like, but this is, getting a letter, here's what's going on, here's what we've been doing, upcoming events, whatever's going on for that particular 3.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
As a member of Greenville Women Giving and someone who wrote these in the past,
What were you, Maggie? What was yours?
Message from Maggie.
Message from Maggie, right?
Cute.
Anyway, I love them and I love the way they came across, and we did it because originally the founders did it that way, wrote little letters, and we had 3 founders and their personalities came through and it's just continued. But I read a lot of your newsletters, the rest of you, and some of you are just doing fabulous jobs with condensing and doing things that are really good to read. Impact Austin has a great newsletter. Buffy has a great newsletter. And I can't say enough about the SAM initiative out there in LA. That is one magnificent newsletter. And you should all take a look at it.
Definitely. Michelle, is that what you're working on?
Yes, actually, we're working on today's not a newsletter, but a spring funding blast that we're going to get out this afternoon. So thank you, Maggie. I'll have to let Mindy know she's not able to be on the call today, but I'll let her know that you acknowledged us. Thank you so much.
How often do you send that out? That Maggie's talking about, the newsletter that you send out?
We try to do we do a spring, which normally is February or March, and then we do a summer, which is around July or August. And it's, based on our cycle. So it'll be updates. If you guys, I don't know who, if you guys, I think I'll drop one in the chat actually, that's on our website, our most recent one. And that way you guys can take a look at it. Just an example of just past grant recipient updates, upcoming events, and then wherever we are on the cycle, if we have new nominees or a theme that we're focusing on. So I'll put the most recent one in the chat for you guys.
That sounds great. Can you sign up? I do get your newsletter.
Yeah.
For anyone who might want to sign up, you can do it right up.
You can sign up. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
How do you keep it under control? We always get to newsletter deadlines and it's like, oh my God, one more thing. Well, let's add this. And they end up being a mile long. And it's like, but how do we get the message out without?
I know. It gets tedious because basically it's Mindy and I now. And we have a marketing guy that's a contractor, but it's basically she and I going through copy line by line, and is it too long? But you want people to read. So it's a fine balance of having enough content and pictures that capture people's eyes, but also like click to here to read more. And it's what Buffy says, going through the logistics on MailChimp to see what the rates are. When you have that much copy, are they actually reading it? Or if it's short and sweet is better. And it's hard because you can only tell the click outs you can look at to see who's actually clicking out. So that is helpful, because if you have it all there, you don't know if they actually scrolled or just, got out of the email. So I'm going to put the link in now.
Do you recommend like having the same sections all the time? How does everybody feel about that?
We do half and half. We have done that, and it's nice as a template to go off of. That's how my brain works. But sometimes things come up, especially with COVID, there wasn't upcoming events. So I don't know, everyone else's thoughts.
Nina, I like what you're saying in the chat, that you wrote a paragraph in each newsletter about philanthropy. You're giving the example, like what's a donor advised fund, different ways to give, that sort of thing. Have you had good feedback with that?
Yes, I want to do some more of that. One a couple summers ago, I was executive in residence at United Way, and they wanted me to write a presentation on explaining their new donor advised fund, because St. Louis was a little behind other cities in getting one. And I said, I could spend 5 minutes, because I used to be a financial advisor. So I could spend 5 minutes explaining this to people. I have a better idea. And I wrote a presentation on value-based selling for registered reps and life insurance professionals using charitable giving concepts. And the first half was explaining the target addressable market to the reps. The second half was explaining charitable giving, from individual giving to up to planned giving, but also short, intermediate, and long-term philanthropic strategies. And I explained over the course of several newsletters, I explained what that is and what it could mean to people individually.
That sounds great. And have people followed up with you to get more information, or did they act on it and maybe start a fund at the community foundation or something like that?
We got sidetracked for a while. Our grant committee has talked about doing some more philanthropy training for our members on kind of investing and donating for purpose and with impact, and we haven't quite gotten to it yet. I personally was inspired by something I heard at Philanos several years ago, I think in Jacksonville, and I started a small capacity building program here based on one that I heard presented the Cedarmere Foundation in Washington. So I've been inspired. So I'm trying to inspire others to be philanthropic too. And when I talk to nonprofits, encourage them to put their capacity building needs on their website. You need a training for an employee. That's an easy ask. It's not a capital campaign. We all get lots of big asks, but asking for a few $100 class or $1,000 class to help a new nonprofit with HR that doesn't know how to do it, or board training or grant writing, is an easy ask. So those are kind of different things that I do both with SOS and personally.
That's great. It's providing kind of the broader context for the work of the circle and what women are doing, getting engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Julianne, I saw your earlier question about what's the best use of video. It sounds like you want to do a live stream, which is so interesting. And we may live stream. We have an event coming up in June, thinking of doing the same thing. So I'd love to hear if anyone's live streamed a live event before to members or others.
In Baltimore, we're going to have our first full circle in-person opportunity meeting in May 17th. And it's going to be at our usual venue, but it's going to be live streamed. So people that aren't comfortable coming, there'll be the business part of the meeting, and then there'll be an outside reception, wine and cheese, just getting to see each other after 2 years. So
That's great.
That's great.
I will tell you, I don't know if anybody else has, but Greenville Women Giving did live stream 2 events during when we were starting back up, when everything hiccuped in the fall with COVID. I will tell you the one opinion of our members who were pretty vocal about it was, if you're going to do a live stream, have someone professional do it. Don't stand there with a iPhone or, trying to live stream something. So we actually brought in a company that does live stream. And just to from our experience, the second event went perfectly. So we live streamed our ed session in October and it went very well. Our kickoff, which was live, was supposed to be live streamed. And even with all the preparation, the practice, and the firm that we hired, there was a huge technical difficulty at the beginning. So we had to wind up taping it and sending it out the next day. So just my only thing is a word of caution that it's it's not an easy thing to do necessarily if you want it to be a quality presentation, because you have to have the mics right so that people can hear. And so there's just different things that our membership asked for in terms of live stream. They wanted it to look professional if we were going to do it.
They're good points.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to add that. So some of our younger media gurus on this team are recommending, because our program might be 2.5 hours long, to try to pick pieces of it, to put on their phones. And I don't even know if that, I mean, they think they can do it, but that's what I was wondering about, that piece of it as well. I mean, people having cocktails for a couple minutes, and then maybe later, when we just start a presentation. So that was my other question about that. Thanks.
Well, we just had to have a special, it was mic'd we had about a couple, over 100 people, 150 people, and it was a big room and people were up on stage speaking. It just depends on the event, I think, but we needed the mic to go directly into the live stream. Otherwise, it's not going to be correct audio, visual. They had a camera there. So it just depends, I think, on what you want it to look like and reflect. These events were professional type events, fun events, but we wanted it to look good. That's just our experience, though.
And I think it goes to, what you're trying to do. Are you trying to present a live stream where they feel like they're participating in the whole event? Or it sounds like, Julianne, what they're looking to do is just kind of from a Facebook or, other platform, get people to kind of get a feel and, oh, I wish I was there, they're not looking to give the impression that you're going to be able to watch the whole thing, but here's a little snippet so you can get a feel for what's going on. I know when we did the Seattle conference and wanted to record certain sessions, there was a lot that went into the mics and the cameras. And so it's kind of the same thing, the quality of the recording or, the quality to be able to live stream and have them feel like they're actually at the event and able to hear it and understand and participate.
Before we wrap up, one thing that I wanted to share quickly, I just put it in the chat, is that as part of our fundraising plan for the year for our 20th anniversary, we had a goal of having maybe 10 women do a Facebook fundraiser for the Giving Circle to raise, we had hoped to raise $2,000. We'd have them each do, $200 or something like that, all playing off of our 20th anniversary. And this is an example of one that just went out yesterday. This is a former advisory board member for the Circle, but it is so fun just to engage women. This is another kind of current engagement opportunity to raise money. And so some people may not be able to give money in a certain way, but they've been raising money. And we've had 6 women now raise almost $10,000 through Facebook fundraisers for the Women's Giving Circle. So another way to be thinking, about how to engage your current members, how they can give in a different way, how to use social media to do that. We've been blown away. But when people ask, especially through these easy Facebook fundraisers that take no percentage of the money coming in, it goes directly to the organization. Whatever we all may think about Facebook, this is one of the good things about it. And so this is how we've been using it. So I thought I would just throw that out there.
Buffy, in regards to that, did you open it up to the whole membership, or did you guys kind of hone in on past board members or chairs that you thought would want to do that post?
It's a great question. So far, it's only been people pretty close to the circle, former advisory board members who really want to do that. But we are actually going to invite in our next newsletter, anybody who's interested in kind of raising money for the circle for women and girls in this way. We have a whole list. You can click on how to do it. It's pretty easy to set up, and we're happy to help anyone set it up.
I did want to mention one thing for the live stream. If you do the live stream, a good suggestion maybe is we had ours recorded and then we shared it on our social media platforms the next day. And we got a lot more traction that way. We had for our kickoff over 480 people, I think, watch it in total. So it's a great way to have a video go out or provide the link. So, because then community will also look at it, not just your members.
Great. And thanks for sharing, Judy. I don't know if everyone can see the chat, but Judy had some good advice about how you've been working with, I guess, videographers, right? For 10 plus years. It's great. Can we, if we were to go to your website, would we be able to see a few of those?
Yes, under grant making, we have CR impact. And so when a grant has been completed and the video has been done, Linda's created the website in such a way that we can have verbiage about the outcomes of the video, but also links to those videos, or outcomes of the grants and then links to the videos.
Great.
There's also, Judy does our YouTube page, and there's a playlist in our YouTube page that has all of the grant outcomes videos as well.
Oh, good.
Let me see if I can get the link.
Virginia, I can't believe it's 12:57. So I have to wrap up. But I'm curious, what did you all think of a looser format like this? Just asking questions, getting advice, sharing information.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
All
This
right,
is
so we'll
really
do it.
valuable.
Great. We'll do it again next time then. But if you have some burning questions you want to, let us all chew on a little bit ahead of time, be sure to throw it out to us, because we'd be happy to know in advance too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Any last comments? Anybody have anything they want to add? We'll be doing this again. Nancy, do we have a date yet?
I think it's June 8th. I'll follow up. I will send around the chat to everybody who attended so that you can get the links if you didn't copy it before we end. And it's recorded, so we'll share that as well, so you can go back and hear everybody's advice again.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
What you're doing.
And let us know your news.
Yeah.